Treasures from Grandma by Arleta Richardson, illustrated by Jerde. Chapter 12. The Expensive Bookcase.
Come on home with me, Mabel. I want you to see what I got for my birthday.
Sarah Jane and I had been gathering berries in the woods and were on our way home.
I hope it isn't a locket, I laughed. Remember when you cut off my hair to put in your birthday locket? Of course I do, she replied. I still have it, though I need a longer chain before I can wear it. But I assure you that I'll never hang this birthday present around my neck.
We went directly to Sarah Jane's bedroom. There, in a corner, stood a beautiful bookcase, painted to match the rest of her furniture.
Oh, I said, aren't you lucky? What are you going to put in it? I had thought maybe books, she answered. What else do you put in a bookcase? You don't have that many books. I'm not dead yet. I might collect a few more volumes over the years. Besides, those shelves are nice for anything you want to display. I can put my doll there and some of the other things I've kept from my childhood. Oh, I'd love to have a bookcase like that, I said. I have lots of things I could display. I'll say you have, Sarah Jane replied. You'd need shelves from the floor to the ceiling on 3 walls to hold all you've saved. Do you ever throw anything away? Of course I do, I responded indignantly. I can't think right now what, but I'm sure I must. I'm not, Sarah Jane laughed. Why don't you ask your pa to build you a bookcase? Reuben or Roy could paint it for you. It's not long until your birthday.
That night at the table, I brought up the subject.
Would you like to know what I want for my birthday? I asked.
We hadn't been worrying about it, Pa teased. But if you care to tell us, we'll listen.
I'd like a bookcase for my room. Sarah Jane's pa made one for her, and Josiah painted it. You'd be surprised how much neater I could keep my things if I had shelves.
I think we might arrange that, Pa said.
I'm in favor of anything that contributes to neatness, Ma put in. That sounds like a fine present to me.
I'll measure the space after supper, decided Pa, and work on it whenever I can.
The bookcase was done by my birthday. It was painted a pale blue, my favorite color.
Thank you, Pa, I said, hugging him. It's the nicest thing I own. Doesn't it look pretty there?
Pa agreed that it did. I spent the rest of the morning deciding what to put on the shelves. I didn't have many books either, but the ones I had went on the top. There were McGuffey readers from the primer on up, a speller for each year, and several other school books. I also had 2 books I had won at school, and the volume of Snowbound. I added my Bible and was pleased with the results.
Come and look,
I called to Ma.
What do you think? It looks very nice, she told me. What are you going to put on the other shelves? I think Emily can sit in one corner, I replied, and Charlotte in the other.
As I placed the dolls on the shelf, Ma eyed Charlotte and shook her head.
Do you know how many years you've had that rag? She asked me. Charlotte's not a rag, I protested. She's not as pretty as Emily, but you don't just throw a doll away that depends on you. You have a heavy load of responsibility if everything you save depends on you, Ma laughed. But this is your room. You keep whatever you like.
I arranged all the things I could find. The shelves weren't full by any means, but they looked very nice to me. I stood in the doorway and surveyed the rest of my room critically. The new bookcase certainly made my curtains look shabby.
Ma, do you think we have a little material from something that I could use to make new curtains for my room?
Ma thought for a moment.
I'm not sure we have any scraps that are suitable or even big enough. Perhaps you could persuade Pa to let you go to town.
I was sure I could, so I enlisted Sarah Jane's help to pick them out.
I'd like nice white curtains with ruffles and blue tiebacks to match the bookcase, I said. Maybe dotted Swiss. I hope you're going to let your mom make them for you, Sarah Jane said. I don't know what you could do to a straight piece of cloth, but I'm sure you'd think of something. You're just jealous, I retorted. All you have is a new bookcase, and I'm getting a bookcase and curtains. I was just teasing, Sarah Jane laughed. They'll look nice.
And they did. When Ma had them done, I washed the windows, and together we hung the new curtains.
There, it looks perfect, except...
Ma paused at the door and looked back.
Except? Well, the walls look a little drab, don't they? I mean, the windows are sparkling and the bookcase and curtains look so fresh and new. It does show up the old paint.
Ma sighed and went back to the kitchen. I wandered out to the barn to look for Pa.
Would you happen to have any more of the paint you used on the bookcase? I asked him.
There's a little left, I guess, Pa replied. What do you need it for?
Could I paint my bedroom walls?
Not enough for that, I'm afraid.
My face fell and Pa looked sympathetic.
I could pick up another pail of it when I go to town. I'm not sure that you should paint it, though. Better let Reuben do it.
I stayed overnight with Sarah Jane while my room was being painted.
What are you going to do next? She asked me. Won't your bedspread and rug look pretty old in that new room? I suppose they will, but I haven't had them long enough to replace them. Maybe I could dye them to match the ribbons on the curtains. I wonder how much that would cost. Mabel, for goodness sake, I didn't mean it. If you fix up that room any more, you'll look too plain to live in it.
The idea stayed with me, though, and the paint was scarcely dry before I approached Ma about the bedspread and rug.
That would be an enormous job, she told me. They'd have to be boiled, and it would take the wash tub to do it. It would have to be done outside, too. I'll not have my kitchen dyed bright blue.
She looked at me.
On second thought, that's not a job you could manage at all. Those things would be much too heavy for you to lift when they were wet. I don't imagine you'd want to help me, I offered. You imagine right, Ma replied. I don't have the time or the want to. Your room looks lovely now, the way it is.
I had to be content with that until I could find another solution. One afternoon an idea came to me. I was taking some cold lemonade to Pa and the boys, and I sat down under a tree with Roy.
If I do something for you, will you do something for me?
I asked.
What kind of something?
He answered suspiciously.
Who's going to get the short end of the stick?
No one,
I said.
I'll do whatever you want me to do if you'll dye my bedspread and rug. Ma won't let me try because they're too heavy.
Anything I want you to, huh?
Roy thought about that.
It would be nice not to have to milk cows.
I'll do it, I said eagerly. I'll milk for you.
For the rest of the summer, he finished.
The rest of the summer? I yelped. That's another month. It won't take you that long to do what I want done.
This isn't a matter of time spent, Mabel,
Roy argued.
I'll be doing something you can't do. That should be worth a little more.
I might have known a bargain with you would turn into a life sentence.
Roy got up to go back to work.
Take it or leave it, he said. You're the one who brought it up.
I thought it over as I trudged back to the house. I could visualize how beautiful my room would look with just that one more thing done. But a month was a long time to face 3 cows morning and night. If I could get Reuben to take 4 cows while I milked 2... But Pa wouldn't allow that. Everyone did his share around our place. After supper, I told Roy that I would begin the next morning. Ma raised her eyebrows when she heard what I had promised, but she didn't forbid it.
A month?
Pa said.
Isn't that a pretty long time?
She agreed to it,
Roy said with a shrug. If she wants a blue bedspread that much, who am I to complain?
I sleepily followed Reuben to the barn before daylight. I had milked before, but only to help out, not as a regular job. Reuben was back at the house a good half-hour before I finished.
I can only carry 1 bucket at a time,
I complained when I came in and found everyone ready for breakfast.
That means 3 trips from the barn. You'll be ready for dinner before I get all this milk strained.
I'll carry 2 for you, Mabel, Pa offered. I don't want you to miss your breakfast. You'd better start at least a half-hour before Reuben does,
Roy snickered. Ma gave him a warning look, and he didn't make any more remarks. My new job didn't mean that I could slight any of my own chores. Long after Roy had fulfilled his end of the bargain, I continued to put in an extra 3 hours a day in the barn. After a couple of weeks, I was heartily sick of our agreement.
I really like my bedspread and rug, Ma, I said to her. But it seems to me I'm paying an awfully big price for them.
I was sure you'd feel that way, Ma replied. That has to be the most expensive bookcase ever built.
Bookcase? I'm working for the bedspread.
That's true, Ma said. But think back. Because of the bookcase, you needed curtains. Then the walls had to be painted. Now the rug and spread have been dyed. That's often the way, Mabel. The more we have, the more we think we need. Ma was right.
Isn't there something in the Bible about being contented with what you have?
I asked her. Yes, St. Paul said it. I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. That is not a bad thing to learn.
I'm not likely to forget,
I told her.
Every time I'm tempted to want more than I need, I'm going to see 3 cows looking at me. I'm going to be so contented you'll think I'm one of them.
End of chapter 12.